Hi, and welcome to Enriched Perspective with Mike and Talisha Wallace, where we seek to shift paradigms through the exploration of biblical principles. I'm Mike.
And I'm Talisha. Welcome to the podcast. So today our topic is leavers and cleavers. And I'm going to start with the scripture this time. I'm going to be reading Genesis, the 2nd chapter, the 21st verse through the 25th. And it reads, "And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed." Leavers and cleavers. What does it mean to cleave? The definition of cleave is to adhere closely, stick, cling, usually followed by to. Or to remain faithful, usually followed by to. What does it mean to leave? The definition of leave is to go out of or away from as a place, or to depart from permanently, quit, to disregard, neglect. So again, our topic is leavers and cleavers. And from the scripture that I'm reading, it's pretty clear that we're going to be talking about marriage, or at least some of that.
Correct.
So, leavers and cleavers. Let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it.
All right. So, Genesis 2:21 through 25 talks about Adam, and we all know the story. Well, now we do know after reading it. Adam went to sleep, got made a woman, and boom, they're married. It doesn't work like that?
In this context, I guess it did. But yeah, so in this Genesis, the 2nd chapter, in general, it's talking about creation, and specifically in the 18th through the 20th verse, it described the relational condition of man. First of all, he was alone, and he had no helpmeet. God had made everything and gave Adam, as we know, dominion over everything. But within all the things that were made, there was not a helper made for him. There was no one that he could look to, or anyone that was like him. So, of course, when you fast forward to that 21st through 25th verse, that's where God had decided, and then also began to and did successfully make him a helpmeet. And the definition, or kind of the Amplified Bible, what it says in the verse 18, it says that God would make him a helper, or one who balances him and is a counterpart, who is suitable and complementary for him. And then the NIV and the NLT further affirm the amplified assertion by saying that he would make a helper suitable and right for him. And then, of course, we get down to the 21st and 22nd verse of Genesis 2, and it talks about the process, what had occurred. And it's very interesting how when you get to the latter parts of that verse, where it said, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife." And that's kind of what we really wanted to discuss, is like when you start talking about the relational condition of man and how he was alone and he didn't really have anyone to help him. And God decided that he would make him someone that would be suitable and right for him, and someone that could really be a counterpart, and someone that truly balances him. And then he decided to do this by, instead of like all the other creation from the dust of the ground was, man form, but also all the living creatures and animals and different things. But for woman in particular, he took her out of man. As we know, he took the rib out, and from there he made woman. So man actually birthed his helpmeet from his own side.
Interesting.
And that in and of itself, to your point, it is very interesting.
Yeah.
So that tells me that there's something very special and very particular about this creation that God had made, which is called woman, or which Adam had called woman. And so much to so where he tells us that for this cause, because of the purpose of now you have this helper, this helpmeet. You should leave father and mother, and you should cleave to this person.
Right.
And where we find ourselves today is we have significant challenges around both aspects of that dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And then second of all, we absolutely, nowadays especially, cleaving is seen as something that's negative.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the leaving part.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I also like to point out that it says, and they shall be one flesh. So that, I think that's important to note too. Like, one flesh, like even though she came out of him, they were still considered one.
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty unique. So that's all.
Okay. So what about the leavers?
Oh, the leavers. What about the leavers?
What about it? So when we start talking about leaving, what does that entail? What does that mean?
Oh, well, the definition says to go out or away from as a place, to depart permanently. Something like you leave, like leave or quit or disregard or neglect.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're leaving, that means you remove yourself from where you are.
So what are some of the challenges that you see today with that statement, leaving?
Leaving to cleave or just
Leaving to cleave for the purpose of cleaving.
Challenges of leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe comfort.
Okay.
Get used to your surroundings and familiar people, friends, family.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a lack of maturity, lack of faith, just not having a plan or knowing where you're going. That can kind of make you want to stick where you are and just stay and not try to go anywhere.
So in your opinion, what's the impact?
Of not leaving?
Yes.
I would say that it would cripple you if you don't stretch out. If you don't move, you can just get complacent or lethargic or atrophied, if you want to use that word. Just stuck.
But in the context of marital relationship, what's the impact?
You won't get married.
Well, that's true.
I mean, if you don't leave like father and mother, say leave father and mother.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that's married that haven't left their father and mother.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So even though you're married, you're not one flesh because you haven't fully left.
Yeah. What does that look like? What, in your opinion?
Oh, ooh. I could imagine there would be a lot of disagreements.
Why?
Because you're not one flesh. You're not together. You're not fully into each other or on the same page or same path.
Why not?
Because you haven't left a mindset, way of living, friends, family. You haven't become one with the person you're supposed to be cleaving to. Instead, you're still cleaving to the other, where you're supposed to be leaving. You're cleaving there instead of in the new place.
So what does that look like?
I would think like they would call them like mama's boys or very domineering women, people that can't make decisions, can't come into agreement, immaturity, just can't or won't submit to each other, won't work together, no communication, just a lot of tension and just no fun. That's what, if you're not, I wouldn't see that as being a pleasant atmosphere.
So from a woman's perspective, what does it look like to have a husband that has not left and is not cleaving to you?
It would be like a man that's probably calling his mom all the time or his friends or depending on other people or other things besides his wife. Not making decisions with his spouse, just very childlike.
In what way?
Just in reactions to situations, don't really talk it out or work it out or be vulnerable or strong, like being the leader of the home. Just kind of shies away from the big stuff. I still would say revert back to his former life, if it be his mom or dad or anybody but the spouse.
Interesting.
That's what I would think. Like if you haven't left that childhood or like you're just still childish.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's what I would view it as. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of my take on it. You?
As far as,
What does it look like to you?
so a person, or I'll start with the male since you ended there. So to me, a man that has not left his mother and father, I agree with you. Is someone that instead of really building that bond and that relationship with their companion, they typically will lean more towards their familiar, whether it be their mother, their father, or whether it, to your point, be their friends, for making critical decisions that affect their household. To your point, they are not willing to step up and make the big decisions. They rather deflect or defer it to someone else. Also, is someone that is just not willing to take on the full responsibility necessary to take on the mantle of husband.
Yeah.
Meaning that when times get hard or when things are challenging, they usually shrink. And that's something that you would expect from a child. Of course, when you're in your parents' home, a lot of the major responsibilities fall to your mother and to your father.
Yeah.
They are the ones that's handling your bills. They're the one that's kind of making all of the bigger, more weighty decisions for you, and you just kind of doing whatever they tell you to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to you really taking the reins and really, manning up, for lack of a better way of saying it, and not just in the moments you feel like it, but even more so in the times where it's not as convenient for you to do so. Another, from my perspective, for men, not leaving is taking a lot of the things that you may have learned in your home, and instead of learning how to dwell with your companion, you just do what you saw.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't really put the effort and the energy necessary into really learning how to dwell and how to function and to really unify with your own companion.
Yeah.
And you take kind of the easy route. I just do whatever my daddy did, or, and she don't like it. Well, my mama liked it.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Well, to me, that means you haven't really left home yet.
Yeah.
Because you're still cleaving to whatever that ideology was of what you thought it meant to create and build a happy home. Or a home, for that matter. Sometimes it is abuse that's involved in that not leaving, verbally. Like I say, you may not throw fists, but you'll throw all kinds of hateful and hurtful words. You'll lash out, in anger.
Yeah. Or don't say anything at all.
Or don't say anything at all because you haven't been taught how to communicate, because you didn't see that modeled in your home. But if your wife is someone that needs that type of interaction in order to better understand you and to get that level of comfort and trust in you, you're at a deficit. So that's what I see from the man perspective. From a woman perspective, kind of a similar thing where, again, they take the model from their mother and they try to force it onto their husband. Like if their father was someone that through his belly, that's how you got to him. And you keep feeding me, as an example, and you keep making all this food, but I just want you to talk to me.
Yeah.
Or I just want you to not be always snapping at me. I just want you to learn how to communicate to me. But you're taking those same models that you've picked up at home and you're still applying these models in this place and space where I'm not your daddy.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, not leaving, not willing to, as a woman, take on the responsibility and the mantle of a wife, which does include, you are just as responsible and accountable for the welfare and the well-being of the household as I am. Just deferring all the responsibility onto the husband. You go and buy clothes and buy shoes and just buy everything that you want without ever taking into account or consideration how it impacts the household. When you was at home in your mama and daddy house, you could do that. But when you're in your house with your husband, that's childish. For you to just be so reckless with what we have put together and what we're trying to build, you're wasting it away on all these different frivolous things that's childish to me. And that means you haven't really grown up and you haven't really left your parent, you still cleaving to whatever that was back there, where daddy just took care of you, and you didn't have to worry about nothing. It just all got taken care of. But baby, this is a different situation. You need to be worried about how we paying these bills.
Yeah.
You know, how these credit cards getting paid off, and how where the income that's coming in the house, where it's going.
Yeah.
And if you're not having those types of questions running around your mind, and you got your husband up all hours of the night trying to figure out how to manage this, then you haven't left home either, because that's what daddies do.
Yeah. You know, it's funny though, 'cause now that can go both ways now.
Oh, absolutely. And it does go both ways.
Yeah.
For men, they do this, that's what I say, same thing, not willing to take on that responsibility of leading a household, you know, bringing in your revenue or whatever you've earned and putting it, you know, in a place which is your house to be able to build a home. And when you just buying video games and buying your shoes and buying your clothes and, you know, you're taking care of your cars and all that stuff, and you got all these toys, but the necessities of the house are being left undone. That's not cleaving. That's and you really haven't, because again, that's stuff I see children do.
Yeah.
I see teenagers do that. They get jobs, and the first thing they do is just buy a whole bunch of stuff they don't need. But the reason why they can do that is because they don't have any responsibility. Who paying the house note?
Mom and daddy.
Who paying the phone bill?
Mom and daddy.
Who paying the energy bill?
Mom and daddy.
Who putting the food in the house? Mom and daddy. Who paying the water bill?
Mom and daddy. It's a parent. Even sometimes it's just one parent, but somebody else is
taking care of you, and you haven't left that paradigm.
Right.
So you haven't really begun to even go through the process of cleaving to your companion. Because to me, that's the very first and the most essential aspect of cleaving. Is the Bible say, for this cause shall a man leave his mother and father, leave the protection of the household, leave under the rulership or of your daddy, and now you got to go establish your own. And if you haven't done that, then you haven't even begun the process of cleaving, because how can you? Because they talk about in the vows, love, honor, cherish, and obey, and trust, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, if I can't trust you to pay the light bill, you know, as simple as that sounds. But that's one of the duties and the responsibilities of the man of the household. And from the woman's from my perspective as a man, looking at it from a woman, you have to be able to trust that I can do it. Like, don't try to take over. Don't try to do it for me. Like, we can work together. But don't try to bulldoze me and make me feel less than, you know, because you can help, and that's help, not take over.
Exactly.
And sometimes we have those paradigms where we come from very dominating and domineering women, either because they don't have a companion in the household and they felt like that they had to play both roles. Well, baby child, you got a husband. You don't need to be the husband and the wife. And when you try to bring that paradigm into what God calls marriage, it's going to cause a problem.
Exactly.
And if you keep talking to that person who lives in that paradigm, it's going to cause a problem.
Exactly.
And you won't be able to cleave unto your companion, because that becoming of one flesh is more than just the sexual encounter.
Exactly.
There's a lot of nuance that's involved in that conversation that brings you together as one. And that's why it's so imperative that we leave, first and foremost, home behind.
And it's more than just, like you were saying earlier, it's more than just physically removing your body from one place to the other. It's a maturity in the mind that happens, or it should.
It has to happen.
You know, and even as parents, we are to be preparing them and training them and doing less and less for them, so that when they do head out the door, they at least have enough tools to get started. You know, communication, finances, different things that you can work on now as you are growing older. So then when you do leave, and you're able to cleave a little easier.
That's why I'm so thankful for my parents. Shout out to them, because as we were growing up, we didn't have a lot, but the one thing that they really taught us was just learning how to be responsible, learn how to be accountable. Like, say, from the finance perspective, first thing my mama did when I got a job was she took me down to M&I Bank. They don't exist anymore. They're BMO. But took me down there, and I got a savings account. And from that, every time I got paid, you need to put something up. You need to, put something aside for other things. And she slowly started removing what you said, that covering.
Yeah.
Like I had to start buying my own clothes. And at the time, I didn't understand it. And I was mad because I had friends that parents was buying them everything.
Yeah.
I had to save. If I wanted a vehicle, matter of fact, if I wanted to learn how to drive earlier than the requisite 18, well, if you want to do that, then you need to go and get driver's ed. Oh, by the way, you got to pay for it. And not only you got to pay for it, you got to figure out how to get there. So I had to get on the bus to go to driver's ed.
See?
And I had to pay for it myself out of the money that I earned. Again, didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah.
Annoyed me because I was like, man, please, you know how you are. Again, childish and immature, and you don't understand what they're trying to work in you. So I started to learn how to be responsible. I learned how to be accountable.
Yeah.
I learned how to not rely on my mom and dad for everything. Like I said, they gave me the tools, and then they stepped back and started giving me the room to learn how to use these tools before I got married.
Right.
So by the time I got to the point where I got married, and like we got married very young, but I already knew how to be responsible.
Right.
I knew how to pay bills. I knew how to, manage my money. I knew how to manage my time.
Yep.
I knew how to do what I would needed to do to do whatever I had. That sounds so funny. I knew what I needed to do. So whatever I had in front of me to get it done. I was still in school at the time, but I knew how to focus and be disciplined enough to get through it because I saw the bigger picture and I had a different expected end. So all that stuff was already ingrained in me. So by the time I got to you and we got married, we was young, but I already had these things working in me. Yeah. And I wasn't depending on my mom and them to take care of me.
Exactly.
And it helped me be able to learn how to cleave to you because now we was in
it. We learned to.
Exactly.
Yeah, we learned how to work together and communicate and resolve issues. And,
exactly.
That's where we started to learn to cleave. And it didn't happen overnight, but it kept working at it, because we both wanted the same thing. We wanted to have a successful marriage. We wanted to have peace in the home and God in the center of everything. So you do what you got to do. Yeah.
And at the beginning, I would call my mom and my dad to ask them questions and different things.
Me too.
But as you start getting a little bit more mature and you start figuring like, hey, I got to work this out with her. Yeah. I can't, have this long drawn out conversation with my mom and my dad about what I'm going through, what I think and feel. And my dad and mom were very good because they was like, you need to talk to your wife. Yeah. Everybody doesn't do that. Yeah. And therefore, that's why you can't cleave because mom and dad in the middle of your stuff and they keep giving you advice because of your perspective. Yeah. They didn't hear the other person's side. All they heard was your perspective. But my dad and mom was very good, specifically my dad, very good. Like, well, you need to really talk to your wife. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to talk to her.
I'm mad right now.
Exactly. But it forced me to learn how to cleave to you because now in those times when I was very emotionally vulnerable, I had to learn how to express what I was feeling, and that was very difficult for me. Very difficult. Yeah. But that was something I had to learn in order to be able to cleave to you, because if I had not learned it, as we know, like I say, it was me not communicating was creating a wedge. Yeah. Because you were like, well, I don't know what's wrong with you, and I'm sitting there looking upside the wall. And I have.
Oh yeah.
Like I say, go in my bat cave, as you call it.
Yep, your little Batman cave.
Just sitting there staring upside the wall, trying to make it, figure it out in my own head. Yeah. And here I have you sitting here wanting to help me. But in my mind, it's like, no, I got to figure this out myself. Yeah. Because I can't let you see me like this. Yeah. But that's all a part of the cleaving process. In order to cleave, you have to be vulnerable. You have to become transparent. But you also have to create an environment where you can do it.
Right, where you feel safe to do that.
Exactly. But that's where leaving and going away from and not having everybody in the middle of your situation helps. If I felt like you were going to tell your parents about whatever I'm telling you, we wouldn't have a conversation. No. Not a deep one, because again, this is the most intimate parts of who I am that I'm expressing to you. And then I know your mama know. I know your daddy know. I know your sister know.
Right.
I know
they
your
looking
cousin
at you
know.
Sideways.
And they all looking at you sideways because you just had a moment and you was just trying to express how you felt. And instead of taking it and using it as an opportunity to come together, closer together, it just threw a bigger wedge. And like so many people, husbands, wives, don't trust each other.
There it is. Yeah.
And it's because the other one hasn't left yet.
Yeah, so true.
They haven't left. If it ain't the parents, they haven't left their best friend yet. Yeah. Sometimes they ain't left even their old acquaintance, Sally such and such, or Mr. So and so.
Are you talking exes?
Yes, I am.
Ooh.
And they still there. They're still present. They're still in their mind.
Wow.
They're still inhabiting a space of them, and you'll hear it. They start comparing, and they start, measuring you against them, what they did versus what you do. And again, that draws a wedge.
Yeah.
You haven't left it. You have to leave all of that stuff behind if you really want to be able to cleave to your companion.
Didn't Jesus say that? Therefore what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. So it's like you can't let anything come in between that cleaving. That
because
one flesh.
It will.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you talk about past. The past is a booger. And the past is, again, all those different things.
That's why you gotta leave.
You gotta leave that stuff that's behind. Leave it behind, because it's just good in its proper place. It has its place. But in all reality, once you come together and you say, I do.
Yeah. Yep.
Things change.
Even in the vows, it says forsaking all others.
It says it, but nobody ever. Like,
I do.
Right.
Like, do you now? Do you really?
Did you really hear what you just said? I do too. Because that forsaking all others, they just assume it only means my ex. And they forget that it means brother, sister, mother, father, grandmama, granddaddy, all these people that had such influence in your life. You have to forsake them for the sake of cleaving to your companion. Yeah. And I understand it's a challenge. I understand sometimes we don't understand why, but the reality is as you mature, you understand. Yeah. Because you realize, like, all that stuff is good and well, and it teaches you some good principles, but there's certain applications that just don't apply. True. Like I was saying earlier, I'm personally not a person that you can't win me through feeding me. Right. So if you try to feed me as a way of showing love, I'm be like, you're going to be mad. I mean, I like a good meal, but at the same time, if you really want to show your love and affection towards me, I have a different language. Yeah. And if you're not willing to take the time to understand what that is, you'll miss it. Same way with you. Yep. You have a different language. And whatever your daddy's language is, I know it ain't mine. Oh. And vice versa. My mom's language ain't yours. No. So me trying to take what my dad do for my mom, and you trying to take what your mom do for your dad and bring it into us. Right. We're going to find out real quick, like, we're going to be missing each other. And again, it's going to be hard for us to cleave because there's going to be confusion. You think in your mind, well, I'm doing everything I can to show the man I love him. And he like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, all I want is this over here. What are you doing? We know that sometimes. Like, have to just stop. Like, hey, no. I don't like that, right?
No, don't do that no more. I'm good.
And then still do it.
You right. Help us, Lord.
But it's because those are the models that we have in our head. Those are the things that we saw. Like I say, I believe my parents have a successful marriage. I believe yours do as well. So we saw that those were the things that brought about success in marriage. So, and of course, intrinsically, we're going to want to apply them.
Yeah, there's some things you can extract things, but
principles.
Not every single little detail, because
exactly,
we're not all the same people.
And that's where we run into the challenge. Is we typically are, as children, taught the application. But as we come into maturity, we should be learning the principle, right? Such that when we get to this stage and phase of our life, we know the appropriate principle, and we can create our own applications now in our situation. Yeah. Versus coming in, you got all these applications that are nice, but it's the wrong situation.
Exactly. Yeah. So the Bible has a lot to say about each role too, like for the man and for the wife and the husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking like, okay, man, wife, husband. Anyway, husband and wife.
Yes.
It's the same thing. I'm just like, my brain and my mouth wasn't on the same page. But anyway.
Yeah, let's look at it real quick. Yeah. So when you talk about the Bible, specifically when it's talking about a husband's responsibility as it relates to helping, in my opinion, a woman cleave to her husband.
Helping a woman cleave?
Yeah. So when you look at Ephesians 5:25, it talks about husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, Well, the Amplified version says, seek the highest good for her and to surround her with a caring, unselfish love.
Wow.
5:33 in Ephesians, it talks about, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself.
Wow.
And again, the Amplified version takes it a little bit differently. Says, however, each man among you, without exception,
Wow.
is to love his wife as his very own self. And it says, with behavior worthy of respect and esteem, always seeking the best for her with an attitude of loving kindness.
Wow.
And then Colossians picks it up again. Exactly. If I'm doing these things.
Right. I'm like, cleave now.
Right. Colossians, it talks about it again. 3:19, it says, same kind of statement. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Amplified says, husbands, love your wives with an affectionate, sympathetic, selfless love that always seeks the best for them.
Wow.
And then it says, and do not be embittered or resentful toward them. And in parentheses, because of the responsibilities of marriage.
Wow.
Now, let me just do a side to the left on this one. Those responsibilities can get heavy sometimes. And again, as a man, it can be tough, and it can be, as much as we think that men get all the praise and they just get everything that they want. Being a husband sometimes can be a very thankless job. Being a father can be a very thankless job. When you talk about on Father's Day, like we get like a stinking tie, and women be getting, every gift begins with K.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I love it. Y'all get these big cars.
The restaurants be
big
packed.
old long, expositions of how awesome of a person that you are and how much you influenced your life, and then we get love you, daddy.
Like, wait, are you my daddy?
Right. That's all you get. It's like, well, I would take care of you all your life, and you look like
daddy.
me. But it can get rough. Like say, the responsibilities and the weight that comes for a man when it deals with marriage.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You got to take care of a household now. You're the one responsible. I don't care if your wife works. You're still the one responsible. This is what God says. We are the ones responsible for the household, and for the caring of it and the direction of the household. So as much as the woman, the helper, has a part and a lot in it, she should be able to help drive the court. But ultimately, I'm the one responsible.
Yeah.
And they be like, oh, you... toxic masculinity. It's like, okay, so you want to have the weight that I have. You want to have sleepless nights. You want to worry about the bills getting paid. You want to worry about, can the kids' teeth get fixed? Can you get the car fixed? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you meet all the needs? Can you make sure your wife is happy and satisfied and, mentally whole and healthy and all that, along with all the kids? You want to make sure they get of age and be able to take care of themselves, and then even if they of age, being still feeling like you have some responsibility to making sure they're good to go. You want to worry about long-term planning, making sure you have some type of retirement plan in place so that y'all ain't out of house and home when y'all get older. Oh, by the way, while you are of age, making sure you have a home that's suitable enough to take care of your whole family. I'm going on this long rant because there's a lot that goes into being a man and a husband, and sometimes people don't understand that. And if you don't approach it with the right attitude, a husband, you get bitter because you be like, well, I want to buy me a video game.
Oh God, you just talked about video games earlier.
Hey,
I just want to sit down and play your game.
Right, you want to just buy
my chips.
Eat your chips and get your dip. Your kid come take your dip. The other kid take your chips. And then they be like, you fat. You need to go on the diet. It's like, this is all I got. You need to go take a walk. It's like, are you serious? You don't get much in this life if you truly are, if you strive to be a selfless,
so what I'm hearing is
loving
we
and
need
caring
to step
husband.
it up, huh?
Somebody
been having some bad Father's Day around here. That's what I'm hearing, a little bitterness
that
going
ain't just
on.
the Father. There ain't no bitterness here.
No.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying what the Bible say. I'm just trying to bring it on home. Make sure we understand that it can be challenging.
Bring
sometimes.
it to light, because some maybe people don't know. We just assume that for women, men, that's what you do.
And again, it's expected of us.
Yeah.
And that's something that fathers should be preparing their sons for, this expectation and this responsibility.
I mean, but
it's good to talk about going to work because that's application.
Yeah.
Go to work, bring home your money. That's application.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more behind that than just going to work. the crux of it and the principle behind it is responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and ownership, and being responsible and taking ownership of your household. That's the key.
Mm. But can I just say that's why it's important that you get the right spouse, because then you won't mind doing it. Or even if you get the right spouse, do you still feel that way, or is it kind of like you don't mind doing
It
it?
all comes with the
or-
package. Sometimes you're gonna feel some kind of way, and sometimes
Mhm.
you'll be just perfectly okay and happy about it. But that's where, if you're cleaving to one another,
Mhm.
and you being my helper and my helpmeet, you'll see when the weight gets heavy. You'll see when I'm getting discouraged, and you'll encourage my heart. Like say, you
Yeah.
won't just stomp on me.
Get your wind up.
Right. Why don't you go into the next job? You know?
You gonna be late. Get up.
But like really, having a heart and a just a care and attention and attentiveness towards me. Now, I'm gonna go to left again. A lot of times nowadays is the expressions or the a lot of the what's the word I want to use? A lot of the kind of tone is more bent towards caring for the woman and seeing her and making sure she is appreciated and she's celebrated and she's seen and all these different things, which I
Mhm.
don't disagree with.
Yeah.
But it comes a lot of times at the expense of the husband.
Oh yeah. See.
And that's the part that it should not be that way. Like I say, we both should be able to be seen.
Right.
We both should be able to be heard. We both should be cared for in a loving fashion, as the Bible says. Like as husbands, we are supposed to love you with affectionate, sympathetic, selfless love that always seeks the best for you.
Mhm.
That's our responsibility as husbands. This is what's going to cause you, in my opinion, to want to cleave to me. If I'm treating you these ways, like treating you as a person worthy of respect and esteem, I'm not just treating you as if you're my maid or, my baby mama.
Yeah.
You're not my baby. You're my wife.
Right.
That's not the same. And it shouldn't be treated as the same. A
Mhm.
baby mama is not elevated to the level of what the Bible says a wife is.
Mhm.
And that's something we have to understand, especially in today's society where you have so many baby mamas and no wife.
Mhm.
And the baby mama wants to be elevated to the status of the wife.
Mhm.
And then the husband's bringing the wife down to the status of a baby mama.
Mm.
And you can't treat her that way.
Yeah.
And if you do, that's why you can't get the cleavage.
Mm. Oh my God. Oh, why am I not surprised that would happen?
Just
I
say.
don't- oh God.
But if you want, because you haven't left these other paradigms, like you went and you built these
Yeah.
families, but these are not your wives.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to
Yeah.
understand that, and you have to put them in their proper place
Yeah.
if you want to truly cleave to your companion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how many kids you had by me. If we never put this thing into the official, law-binding
Mm-hmm.
agreement, which is marriage, then you're just my baby's mama.
True.
And I respect you for that, but I'm not going to respect you higher than I respect my wife.
Right.
And people are like, oh, but that's the reality of it. And this is
Yeah.
why we have so many issues and challenges.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you got like 5, 6, 7 wives in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
2 wives, 3 wives. How you think Sarah felt with Hagar? She's like,
oh yeah.
baby mama
she
drama.
She felt some
She
kind
felt
of way.
some kind of way. And
Yeah.
Abraham had to, like, you know what?
Yeah. He
Do
did.
what you got to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as much as it hurt us, we got to say, you got to do what you got to do. Because, again, I
Mhm.
respect you more as my wife
Mm-hmm.
than I do the baby mama.
See, and that's why it's again important that we do things God's way.
Absolutely.
Then you wouldn't have the stress of these
Absolutely.
baby mamas and baby daddies and these children. The children are going to suffer worse because of the adults' decisions. And if we just do things God's way, the husband and wife will come together, and you will reproduce as the Lord sees fit.
True.
But
And last but not least, like I said, talk about husbands, and then we'll move on to the wives. It says, dwell with them in 1 Peter 3:7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
wow.
Now, Amplified tells it this way. It says, live with your wives in an understanding way, with great gentleness and tact, and with an intelligent regard for the marriage relationship.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Y'all got a lot.
We got a lot on our shoulders if we want to do it right. So
Yeah.
again, this is not bashing one side or the other. When it talks about leaving and cleaving, we both have a lot of work to do.
So, yeah.
Like I say, we're going to get to the woman's part or the wife's part. And again, we usually stick on that, wives be submissive to your husbands, but there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. Like when it talks about the Amplified, gives the extra pieces and details of what that really looks like. And I'll let you talk to that.
Oh, are we done with the husbands?
I think so. That's good. We
Y'all
got a
good?
lot to do. I think we got.
Y'all plate is pretty full here.
If we do those things, I mean, you will cleave, you will cleave, you will cleave.
Yeah, and it's not just you know how we talk about the quality over quantity.
Yeah, it ain't just 50 years, but it's like good,
Yeah.
wholesome, healthy, productive,
Right.
growth generating years.
Yeah, because we're talking, like you can be together, like you could be official, like legally married, but like if you never cross over into the real cleaving, you're just together.
Yep.
So
True and true.
Anyway, okay. So about these wives.
Go down all the way to Colossians.
Ooh.
And we can
Oh
work
wait,
from
how
down there.
we gonna go do that one?
Cause
You just said, okay, Colossians 3:18. You just said this. Okay, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it is fit in the Lord.
look at the Amplified version.
All
What
right,
does it
come on,
says?
Amplify, help us out. Wives, be subject to your husbands
Why though?
out of respect for their position as protector
And
and their
exactly.
and their accountability to God as is proper and fitting in the Lord.
So
y'all,
that subjection and that submission is not without some great responsibility from our side.
Woo.
It ain't like, well, just do what he say. Like, no, we have to answer to God.
Wow.
We have to protect you all. We have to cover you all. So because of the responsibility that we bear, it should drive some subjection and some submission.
What?
And it's not like we're making you. It's because we're doing all these other things so well that, again, submission is I give up control. I volunteer.
Right. We did a topic on this.
Exactly.
The S word. Remember? You talked about submission?
Yeah, go back to that one. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
Okay, go to 533. So we're going to skip the other one.
Okay. Ephesians.
Well, actually, go to 520. Ephesians 5:24. Yes.
Ephesians 5:24.
Yes.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Here we go again.
Amplified.
Yep.
Respecting both their position as protector and their responsibility to God as head of the house. Boom.
And that's again, these are things like, yeah, there's submission. It's in there. It's mentioned, subjection, but there's a heavy weight on the head of household, which is the man, that if we do our job well, we're worthy of it and we deserve it. And that's why I'm more of an advocate of, as men, if you want this, get to work.
Yeah.
Don't tell somebody that they need to respect you, but do the work.
Do it.
I understand what the Bible says, and they should anyway because they're your husband. But at the end of the day, if you really want that thing to work and you really want to have that cleaving, do the work. All the things that we mentioned earlier, if you want her to be this way, you want her to see you this way.
Yeah.
Because this is a perception.
Yeah.
She has to see you as a protector.
Yes.
She has to see you as a head of household. And that's what drives or garners the respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all right.
Why you say it like that?
I'm just like, for the wife is like,
Oh, yours is coming. The real one. The one I wanted to get to. Read it.
wait.
5:33.
What? Okay. Ephesians. Okay. We have a responsibility to
Read it. Yes, it's coming.
Apparently,
It's coming.
the word of God says, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Where is that at? Ephesians 5:33.
Ephesians 5:33.
What did the Amplified say?
And the wife
Read it.
must see to it
Mm-hmm.
that she respects and delights in her husband.
Read.
That she notices him and prefers him
Read it.
and treats him with loving concern,
Yes.
treasuring him,
Yes.
honoring him,
Yes.
and holding him dear.
Mhm. That's right.
Okay, these, I know, man, okay. Okay, so the way you talked about the men, you was as if it was just so difficult. Like it's just a heavy, heavy weight being the husband and the protector and provider, and it's so hard.
Let me get that. So I'm gonna get my point. Nope. Let me say my point. Now, when we talk about the wives, what do we always hear? How difficult and how challenging it is, and how y'all job is never done. Y'all work 24/7. Y'all always giving. Always. We hear that all the time.
So you just want to give your point.
I just want to make sure that women understand out there that, hey, we in it with you.
So
that's all I'm trying to say.
I hear you. I do. I'm just saying.
But
it sounds like we can't. It's God has it so to where we both are one. We both,
because what the Bible say we supposed to
be one flesh,
and you supposed to be
help me.
Yeah.
So it's like no one is worse than the other. We both have our set of things.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. When you come together and you really cleave to your companion, there's absolutely no way that neither of you are left without any type of burden and weight. You're both going to feel it. You both going to have, weights that you're going to have to carry for the sake of the household.
Right.
Because you've become one.
Right.
So how can you not feel what I feel?
True.
How can you not be impacted by the things that impact me?
That's true.
There's going to be gaps that I have that you're going to have to feel for me, and vice versa. There's going to be gaps that you have that I'm going to have to feel for you. And again, all I'm trying to say is we both are going to have weights.
We
both are going to have struggles. We both are going to have challenges, and one can't deny the other. True. As we try to do a lot of times. You just don't
understand. You just,
exactly.
You don't get it. Yeah.
And they be like, I love this one. You get to go to work. It's like, did you just hear what you said?
You get to get out the house.
But where do I get to go? Typically, I mean, I'm thankful for my job. I like my job. I love my job. I have no complaints about my job. But let's be real. There was times where I hated going to work. Yeah. Not in my current job, but in the jobs I've had before. There were some jobs I hated, but I had to do it for the sake of the household. There are sometimes I would have loved to be able to be at home and relax and participate, or even be there in some of the things that you would call a struggle. I would have loved to be able to be there and see these things happening in my children's life. But I had to go travel to Canada, or I had to go here, I had to go there for the sake of making sure that the household is covered.
Yeah.
And that's why you see nowadays, like when you talk about like paternal leave, I know for sure like men have been fighting because they were like, well, you giving all this leave for the women, but there's no consideration, or has never been any consideration for the husbands. Yeah. So therefore we got left out of the picture, where a woman could go home, have the child, be home for a couple of months, bond with the child, and then if she's working, come back. Well, the husband, I know back in my day, it was like, boop, okay, go back to work.
Yeah.
I got like 2 days. The best I got to do was see the kid born. 2 days. Thank God you didn't have any complications. Get you put together, get you back to the house, and I got to go back to work. Whereas now they're finally starting to figure it out. Like, hey, this stuff matters to men too.
Yeah, y'all. But even though it's just the way the world is. Like, it really is. They say it's a man's world. Like, it really is male dominant. So, I mean,
it's
y'all
money dominant.
Well, but y'all can go to. Y'all don't have to. Y'all don't. It's just different circumstances.
Not really, per se.
But yeah, it's just different.
Because you got women that go to work every day, and they are bringing in money. They have careers just like we do.
Yeah. And
to your point, if you look at it, yeah, there is a different responsibility for a wife versus a husband. There absolutely is. But then there's principles that you can apply that can balance the load so that the household, the family, can be whole.
Yeah.
And that's where I was saying there's some applications that you may have saw when you were younger. Like you might have saw your mom only do dishes, as an example. but you live in a household where your husband and wife are working.
Yeah.
Well, the dishes got to get done.
Yeah.
And we both are tired. So
somebody got to clean.
Right. Like
laundry.
Money.
Yeah.
Like some people like give the money to the wife. If she don't know what she's doing, I'm not.
No. Even like Proverbs taught the virtuous woman.
Yeah.
If she's virtuous, her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her.
Yeah. But
so he should have no need of spoils. In other words, she ain't gonna blow all the money. You're gonna lose a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
so
but everybody think that means she's gonna be the best CPA ever. It's like
no.
Some of it might be just she just don't go and shop every day because she know that we don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got it like that.
Yeah,
that's one thing I really admired about my mom is that even though my dad didn't make a lot of money, she always found a way to make whatever we had stretch.
Yeah,
like I say, she never made him feel bad for working hard and for trying. Whereas nowadays you got this culture where it's so toxic. Like if you don't have 6 figures and if you ain't taking me, like say you take me to Cheesecake Factory, they get mad. Like you need to take me to get a filet. It's like you can't eat a filet on your own. And if you can, more power to you. I'm still taking you to Cheesecake Factory. That's what I can afford. You should understand I'm fiscally sound. That should be a good attribute. Anyways.
Some would call that cheap.
No, that's not cheap. Taking you to McDonald's is cheap. If I took you and got you to 2 for $3, I know what that is. The McChicken and the cheeseburger.
Get you a biggie bag for Wendy's.
No, that's too much. I get you the McChicken and the cheeseburger. I take you to the gas station and get you some cheese curls. Get you a cup of water.
A cup of water? Can't even get no pop?
Yeah, you don't need no pop.
Soda,
you already had enough carbs. That's enough. You good. I'm just saying. But anyways, I forgot where I was at.
Yep.
But
talk about women buying steaks for themselves.
What I'm trying to say is it's flipped. Where it's like we're not working for the betterment of each other. Yeah. And it's like we're out for our own in the context of marriage.
Well,
and you have not left again those former things, and you're trying to act as if you're not cleaving. You're not even attempting to cleave. It's just an agreement and an arrangement.
Right.
Versus it really being what the Bible says, where we come together and you are my help meet. Yeah. And you don't take offense to that statement. Yeah. You don't feel like you're less than or inferior to me because I said you're my help meet.
I mean, I'm thinking like when you start looking at the responsibilities, there's no one better than the other.
We both got a lot of work to do.
Right.
And if you're doing it right, and if you're really striving to apply these principles in your life, I am just crazy enough to believe that you will happily leave whatever was in the past. Yeah. And you will cleave. Yeah. And like I say, it doesn't all happen at once. Sometimes it takes time.
Yeah, and effort though.
That's the biggest part, effort. If you're not willing to put forth the effort, then it's never going to happen. You're going to have a mediocre marriage. Yeah. But if you really want to have that happy, full, fulfilling relationship with your companion, both men and women, we both have to strive to work towards leaving those things that are in the past and behind us, leaving them where they are, and really starting to put the effort into cleaving to your companion. Right. And when you begin to really do that in earnest, you're really going to start to really look at what God says about how the husband should be, what God says about how the wife should be. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think we even got through all of it, but I mean, if you doing all that stuff for me, I'm telling you what, we cleaved it.
But the one word that sticks out to me, it's that selfless love.
Yes, and it's on both sides.
Yeah, it's like selfless love. Like, oh, that's heavy. It's like it's not about me. It's not all about me. I'm giving up myself. It's wow.
So I look at Ephesians 5:33. That part where it just talks about an amplified. She notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern, treasuring him, honoring him, holding him dear. You know how
that's a lot.
Much of a difference that makes in a man's life when he feels. I know we talk about the women, but again, as a man, when we feel loved, when we feel appreciated, when we feel respected, when people, specifically our companions, take our feelings into consideration, like they're asking, our opinion because they really want to know what we think versus just trying to find something to fuss about. You know how much that does to a man and his, just his whole psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And it pushes him to want to do better.
Yeah.
It pushes him to want to be the best that he can be for you.
Yeah.
Because now he can't safely trust in you. He knows that if anybody got my back, my wife got my back.
Yes.
But it's a sad day when, the person that leads the chorus and talking about how trifling I am is my wife.
Oh my gosh.
The first one to give ammo to all of my enemies is my wife or my husband. You know my vulnerabilities, and you know my issues, and you know the areas where I have challenges, and you just expose it to the world instead of protecting me, instead of covering me, instead of having concern for me. That's why they don't leave, because they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So they keep going back to where they feel the most safe.
There it is.
And therefore, you never ever have that union like God said we should be.
Yep.
But when you really put forth the effort, and we're going to stop here for this portion of this, because, like I say, this has been really good. We just got off on a tangent. Apologize, but it's a good conversation. But when you begin to really put forth the effort the way that God tells us to put forth the effort, like those scriptures that we read, and you really start to look at the nuances of what he's telling us and asking of us as it relates to husband and wife. And you realize, like he said, as Christ. And you start thinking about the sacrifices that he made and just how he has been with us as the bride of Christ. It'll start humbling you and causing you to kind of take a beat, and really start reflecting on, am I doing this thing in a way that would cause my wife to want to leave her past behind and cleave to me? And why am I doing this thing in such a way where it's compelling and it's forcing my husband to like, I can't stay here as I was. I can't stay, over here. I'm leaving all that behind, and I'm cleaving to you because you have proven yourself. You have demonstrated. You have exemplified that you are for me.
Right. And that's family. We are family. Me
Absolutely.
And you. It's us.
You always say that.
Yeah, it's true.
And I've come to believe that in the 25 going on plus years of marriage, through the things that we've been through, just through life in general, like raising a family, learning and letting God help us see ourselves. Because like I said, I'm not going to claim victory or perfection in this regard.
No.
I was reading this like, boy, I was like, I suck.
Oh, please don't. No, you don't. You are a wonderful husband.
But where I want to be, and you're a wonderful wife too, but where I want to be, it's like I have a lot of room for improvement because I can do better. Like I say, some things took longer than they probably should have just because of ignorance on my part. And that's why we're talking about this, to give you all that are starting out or somewhere in the middle or somewhere towards the end. It don't really matter where you are. It's like just once you get illuminated and enlightened, start making the changes, start making the effort, and you can have that cleavage. You can enjoy that cleavage.
Stop. Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Oh my Lord.
Cleavage matters. Levers and cleavers. It matters.
My God. It definitely creates a deeper appreciation for the whole marriage, just marriage
in general.
Man, God is amazing how I always get it mixed up, but just how important marriage, how he designed marriage. I don't know which one it is, but it's important. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. It's so deep.
Okay, on that note, we're just going to go ahead and stop. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you taking your time out to listen to our rant this evening.
Episode 50. Woo-hoo.
And happy 50th episode, and hopefully we'll have many more to come. Thank you very much.
Well, that's our time. Thank you so much for listening. We hope this episode has further enriched your perspective.
Until next time, I'm Mike.
And I'm Talisha. God bless.